Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm sharing with you my thoughts on buying properties at the right price. If you pay too much for a property that you're looking to buy, refurbish and sell on, then the whole thing can become a massive headache, because what you're going to do is you're going to end up working for free or working for such a small amount of profit it probably wasn't worth your time in the first place. So how do we avoid that? How do we know what to pay on a property when it comes to a project? Now, here's a quick tip for you. Just because a property is stinky, horrible and falling to bits, it doesn't mean it's cheap. It can still be stupidly overpriced. Prices are set by, in some cases, overly optimistic sellers, overly optimistic agents, or a combination of the two. So do not think, because it's a stinky, horrible property that's falling to bits, I'm going to get it at a good price. No. First thing is, if you're looking at stinky, horrible properties, then you're on the right lines. Because if you're going to make any kind of money flipping properties, buying, selling them on, you need to do them with the properties that need work. Pretty much, 99 times out of 100, you're probably going to have to do a property up in order to make profit selling it on, in most cases. But that doesn't mean just because the damn thing's falling to bits that you're going to get it at a good price or that it's well priced. Price is irrelevant. Forget about price. So in order to calculate what you need to offer on a property, you need to understand value. Value is important, not price. So what is the value of that property once it's refurbished? So you kind of work backwards from there. You go, right, okay, so if the property is going to be worth X amount once it's refurbished, and I'm going to need to know in advance what my refurbishment costs are, and then I'm going to need to know what my true buying and selling costs are. So don't forget about those. Refurb's just one of those costs. You've also got legal fees. You've got stamp duty. You've got agent fees if you're going to be selling that property again. You've got things to, council tax bills, potentially utility bills. Even if they might be small, they add up over the time of refurbishing a property. So you need to know all of your true buying and selling costs, at least a good estimate. So you can understand, right, this is my end value. These are my refurbishment costs and my buying and selling costs. And what am I looking to make on the profit? And once you know that, you then know what your max offer can be, because you're working backwards. So what you can make on the profit, typically, I wouldn't do a deal unless I can see a 20% return on investment. So simply put, if I'm spending all in 100K, I want to see 120 come back, so it's 20K profit. So it's 20% of the money invested as a bare minimum. So average house price in the UK, let's just assume you're spending thereabouts 300 grand. You want to see 60K come back to you as your profit. 60K profit coming back to you on that spend, because that's a 20% return investment. So depending where you are in the country, you'll be looking at properties, of course, that will be certain different values. There's massively different values across the country, but effectively average house price around about 300 grand. If you were hypothetically all in at 300K for your cost, you'd be looking at a 60K profit. So then I'm thinking, right, okay, I need to make that minimum 20%. I know what my costs are. That's my maximum offer. That is simply where you start. So if you're going to an auction, you don't say, right, I plan to do my max bid at 100, but actually if I get carried away, it'll turn into 125 because I'll get keen and I've put time and effort in viewing the damn thing. And no, just no. You need to say, right, my max offer is 100 grand because I've worked it out already. I know what my costs are going to be. I understand what my profit margin is going to be. And there, I'm going to stick with that max offer and not get overly emotional. Remember, when it comes to property, there is always another deal. There is always another deal that's going to come along. So you can't get too excited and get too carried away and pay too much. Because once you pay too much, you could be working for free, or at least you'll be working for pretty much minimal profit. And while you're doing that, the money that you've spent doing that project that's a waste of time, you could have spent on something else that's bound to come along when you've got the money tied up and you can't do that good deal that's just come along. So there is an opportunity cost for not doing deals, especially like me. You're doing this all the time. If you're looking at deals, you think, right, okay, I want fantastic deals all the time. There's an opportunity cost if you're looking for too big a discount that you buy nothing. But then at the same time, if you buy something and it doesn't work because you've not got enough profit in there, then you're wasting your time. And also you're going to lose that next opportunity to invest that cash into another deal that will come along just as you've got your money tied up. I guarantee it. So knowing your max values in advance, knowing your refurbishment costs, knowing your buying and selling costs, all in advance allows you to confidently place that maximum offer and never exceed it. That way, you've got control over your buying and you professionalize the whole process. You go, right, okay, you're speaking to agents. This is what my offer needs to be because I'm looking to make this amount of profit and I know I'm going to spend this. So that's where it needs to be. And when you professionalize it and you explain it, agents can understand why your offer is lower because you're not going to live in the property. You're not a first-time buyer who's emotionally invested in the property. You are looking at this from a business perspective of making profit. And if it doesn't make a required minimum profit, then you'll go on to the next one and off you go. So I recommend if you're looking at doing this strategy, this buy, refurbish, sell strategy, so flipping properties like I do, if you're serious about this, get yourself a spreadsheet. So when you are looking at putting your offers out, you know your end value, your refurbishment costs, your buying and selling costs, an estimate on council tax, utility bills, etc. So then you can say, that's my max offer. And you don't have to think about it for very long. It's just there. That's your max offer. Put it out there, move on. Forget about it. If it's rejected, then you move on to the next one. You professionalize the whole process and you don't think about it too much. You don't get emotionally invested and you can move forward to the next deal. Now, how are you going to find out those numbers? Now, that's a topic probably for another video to go into more detail, but essentially you need to know your end value by speaking to multiple agents, by looking at sold price data, understanding what your end value is, understanding, are you adding additional value that could achieve more of a value? So are you planning to do any reconfigurations to the layout that would make that property more attractive and more valuable? Or are you just going to do a quick refurb and not really change anything? This will dictate the end value. And you're speaking to agents in advance to decide what to do. What is your strategy? What should you do in order to achieve the maximum value, keep those costs down in order to achieve the best result, which is big profit, as low spend as possible, right? That's the balance that you need to go. So that's your end value. You're speaking to agents to determine that. You're getting multiple quotes from your builder who's going to go out there, understand or give you a quote for what things are going to cost in advance. So you need to have a rough idea of what your spec is. What is your spec? So what I'm talking about there is what style of kitchen, what standard of bathroom, what flooring, quality of carpets, etc. are you going to do in that property? And to know that, you need to look at your competition. You need to look at other developers in the area, what they're doing to achieve the top figures. So what you don't end up doing is overspend. So you don't want to be putting granite worktops in a kitchen of a property you're selling for 100K. Probably never going to pay off because you are finishing something too high a standard for the area. But if you're talking about £1 million property, absolutely. You want to be doing something pretty special in order to meet the standard that buyers expect at that level. So your standard of refurb is dictated by the market and by what people expect in that area. So you know you've got your end value, your true buying and selling costs, including your refurbishment costs, and you know what your return investment needs to be, your minimum return investment. Put it all on your spreadsheet and away you go, so you can confidently offer on your next property and you know you've got it at the price that you need to make it work. So hopefully this is of some value to you. If it is, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and you'll see me again in the next one very soon.